Hey, everybody, it's Doug Green, and I'm the publisher of Technology Reseller News. And we're back with more chats with Ellie. I'm here with my good friend, Ellie Katz, National Retail Solutions, NRS. Ellie, how are you doing today?
It's great to see you. First of all, did you notice that I brought the matching eyeglasses to the show today so that
Absolutely. You got the memo.
people are already writing in saying, "Are you guys twins?" It's like Danny
Separated at birth,
DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger. You could be
cousins.
Arnold Schwarzenegger though.
I don't know about that, but we are going to be diving into some interesting topics we normally don't talk about around here. So, we started our day today. I turned on the thing, we were setting everything up, and Ellie
Yeah.
said, I got a big headache. I just had to take a couple of Tylenol for this headache.
Okay, so not last night, the night before last, around 12:30 at night, I wake up a little acid reflux because I'm on those shots, like those weight loss shots. So I'm doing those weight loss shots, and whenever I do anything that has like oil, it gives me a little acid reflux. I had something with oil in it, and so that was really painful. My throat was killing me. Anyways, I fell asleep after taking two Tums. 2:15 in the morning, somebody rings my doorbell. So my wife's like, somebody's at our doorbell at our door at 2:15 in the morning. She's like, don't go out there. So I got on my Ring camera and I said, can I help you? And she said, yeah, I think I might have slid into your car. So, we don't know if this is once again, someone who's trying to do some harm for me. So we don't know. So I called the police. I said, someone just knocked on my door or rang my doorbell. And they said they slid into my car. They said, well, what type of car are they driving? I said, I don't know. I'm not going to go out there until the police show up. I'm not going to go out there by myself.
Right.
So they sent some police officers. But anyways, while they were sending the police officers, I started moseying downstairs. This is all within a 2-minute span, right? So it's not like they were waiting for a long time. And I walked because I had to get ready and dressed. I wasn't exactly camera ready. So I got dressed after getting out of bed. I walked outside. She was gone. I went and looked at my car, or my son's car, to be quite frank. It was parked on the street, and there was a massive, massive dent. So I pulled all the camera footage. The cops pulled up at this point. They're like, where is the person? I said, I have no idea. It was a hit and run. I mean, one would say maybe they didn't hit and run. They rang the doorbell, and then ran. But then I spent the next hour and a half going through all my camera footage on my Ring cameras, my house cameras, my car cameras, and getting everything to the police department. And by that time, it was already like 5 in the morning. But when I was ready to go to bed, but I had to go to the gym. I couldn't cancel on my gym buddy because this was the makeup day for my cancellation from the Friday before. So I went to the gym. I come back. I fall back to sleep for 2 hours. I wake up, and the cops are calling me, and they said they found the person. They used all the videos, and they were able to enhance the license plate, and they got him. So that was great. Only thing is, I still didn't sleep the whole day. So I went to sleep last night. I woke up, and I have this pounding headache today trying to do makeup. But that's what's going on in Ellie White Katz's life, dealing with a teenage son that doesn't have a car, that's got to go to school, that's got to do his social life. And he can't rent a car, by the way, because he's not 23 nope. or 24. So he's like, I don't understand. What did I do? I had a car. Someone else hit my car. I'm trying to explain to him how to deal with this. So it was not such a happy night in the Katz household last night. As a teenager, was realizing the realities of what happens in life when things don't always go right. But I'm here, ready to roll, ready to talk to some of your thousands upon tens of thousands of listeners and tell them about National Retail Solutions and how we could help them make more money and put more money in their pockets.
Well, and with that, let's talk about the other thing that you told me is causing a bit of a headache. We're not diving into politics, of course. We never do that around here. But the news that's been in the news for everybody, that's impacting the retail business. It's impacting the guys you serve.
So National Retail Solutions is the largest point-of-sale register and credit card processing for the independent convenience stores. We call them bodegas on the East Coast. On the West Coast, they're called tiendas. In Michigan, they're called party stores, liquor stores, corner groceries. But we all know them as the unbranded single store, single operator store. So we have over 40,000 point of sale registers deployed out there. And that's a lot of locations, It's not all 40,000 locations, 40,000 registers in those locations. And what's going on is, and like I said, you and I will not touch the politics because we don't want to touch the politics, but let's touch the reality, right? And the reality is that a lot of immigrant population are now shopping at these stores because they feel safer in these stores. It's right down on the bottom of their apartment building. Mm-hmm. Where they would go normally maybe to a supermarket, but it's more of a public place. Here they feel frightened, for them and for their family members. And then there happens to be, I got the report last week, that there were literally 4 national retail stores, 4 locations in one county where ICE walked in and arrested the owner or the person behind the counter. And that wasn't good for us. All right, that's not good for anybody. Right? That's one of our stores. I mean, it's not our store. They're using our technology. So this is, some of the anecdotes of what we might see or hear on the news, but more with the personal touch with National Resale Solutions. But I will tell you that also a lot of our stores have e-commerce, because our point of sale register has the ability to be integrated with their own website, and point of sale register has the ability to be uploaded to DoorDash and Grubhub. And the e-commerce business for these stores are doing phenomenal. The people are not leaving their apartments or their houses, but they still need to shop. So those are the good and the bad, and really the realities of what's going on with today's situation.
Yeah, you were talking about the withdrawal of these communities from sort of the mainstream big retailers, the big mass merchant food stores and stuff like that. I was sort of wondering about whether there had been then an uptick in delivery, and I guess you just confirmed that.
Yeah,
it sounds a little bit like a rerun of COVID, where that's where a lot of that we had the delivery systems in place before 2000, but or 2020, I should say, but they sort of blew up actually when people really said, okay, I need to have stuff delivered. Now we have a different reason for the delivery.
You hit the nail on the head. The reality is these convenience stores, these bodegas, at first when COVID started, 80% of our stores shut down, literally shut down, meaning they turned off their point of sale. They shut down for the first day, 2, 3, 4 days. But then,
right.
And I panicked, right? I mean,
the world had ended. Yeah.
Yeah. And the world is ended. Obviously, now in hindsight, we're looking back at all the COVID things. But at the time we were, in the thick of it, and we didn't know what was going to go on. We didn't know what the future was going to bring. And I have employees I have to pay. And, and all of a sudden 80% of my community shuts down. Those are people that are paying the bills. And little by little they turned on. And then we saw that these stores became the staple of the COVID community, because people didn't want to go shopping in the big supermarkets, in the public places, where you had to do the social distancing and, you couldn't get onto a supermarket line. So convenience store was exactly that. Convenient. You run in, you run out, you grab your essentials, and you're good. And then the ones that were smart enough to be hooked into online ordering, and the marketplaces, etc., they thrived. We saw the spike, and they thrived.
Right.
So,
and I'm glad that we're getting to here, because this is where, I think there's a lesson here that you're telling me. Current events are current events. There's always something happening. The business part of our brain needs to understand, I think, that inside these things that occur, there's sometimes an opportunity for the MSP and channel partner community to reach out to these smaller retailers like you guys serve, and probably other businesses like them, with solutions.
Yeah.
because I also want to bring out for folks that have never seen our podcast before on NRS. NRS also, you guys serve, I think, communities. You serve those bodegas and family run stores. You also serve, I think, other businesses like them, but are doing other things.
100%. We are what when you think about the independent world. And by the way, some of these stores that have 20, 30, 40 stores, they consider themselves independents also. And we're able to cater to those. It
Right.
happens to be that our community is based and built up on the onesies, twosies. We had a lot. We really did hand-to-hand combat to try to go in and get every single one of these stores. And I didn't walk into a boardroom and walk off with 200 stores. So we do serve, and as we continue, we built, in my opinion, we built the best point of sale register for these type of stores. And it's not just my opinion. Proof is in the pudding. The fact that we keep adding features and functionality to our register so that these stores can thrive. And now, why not go to those chains or independent chains? As you know, in the Midwest, there's lots of them that have 10 stores, 12 stores, 14 stores. Our register is perfect for that community. So they're still small. They're still, they're not the big chain stores that you're familiar with that have 6,000 in convenience stores or 4,000. But if you look at our community as a whole, by the way, we're larger as a community than every single one of those chain stores that you could think of, right? And we could just say it, right? The 7-Elevens, the Speedways, the Wawas, the Circle K's. You put them all together, and they're still not at 40,000 point of sale registers throughout them. So we're larger than all of them together. And, we're in every single state. And we don't just do point of sale registers. We do credit card processing for all types of businesses. And we have the same mindset and the same mantra when it comes to credit card processing, making it a very clean rate, very easy to read, easy to understand, no surprises, right? For credit card, no contracts or no long-term contracts, no cancellation fees. We do cash advance. Every business needs cash. It's hard to run a business. I own some of my own small businesses, right? I own 2 Chinese restaurants. I have a candy store. And I know that all of my inventory that is already paid for is sitting on the shelf or sitting in the freezers or sitting in the refrigerators. And yet I still have to pay my employees. I still have to pay my rent. I still have to pay so I need some assistance with the cash flow. Or let's say I want to expand. I need some cash advance. So, and then there's also payroll services. We saw, you mentioned the C word, the COVID. We're all trying to forget it, but it kept pop up on us. But we saw during COVID how the government rewarded companies that had payroll. And it continues to reward companies that have payroll and payroll services. So we have a payroll service product, and we're expanding that financial services business as well. So once again, Doug, why is National Retail Solutions on a Telecom Reseller News Podcast, the #1 podcast for technology resellers? And that is because every one of your resellers have worked hard to build relationships. And that's really, at the end of the day, the most important. That's really the relationship that they have. They could sell them or offer them other products. They don't just have to keep it to one product.
Right.
And they can make more money. They're leaving money on the table by not taking advantage of the fact that they're trusted already by their customer. And so if their customer needs credit card processing, why not offer them credit card processing? If their customer needs cash advance, why not offer them a cash advance? So, and by the way, I'm only talking about the technology resellers that have their current customers. They also have the ability to knock on other doors, right, in their community.
Ellie, I think there's another headline buried in all the headlines we've been discussing, which is this. I think everyone tends to think of the types of businesses you're describing. Family run, in communities, immigrant communities, working class communities, this type of place and so on across the country. we do not think of these places as technology first companies. And they may, in fact, have in the same community, right, the 7-Eleven, the big chains, which of course have first class access to technology, credit, borrowing. They have everything at their disposal.
Loyalty or rewards program, right? But that's why we
Right.
have to do all that stuff. We do the loyalty, we do the rewards, we do the inventory. We have to provide all of that stuff packaged with a bow to our independents so that they can compete and thrive against all these big chains.
Now, I'm picking up, though, there's a hidden headline here, and that is there might be a quiet revolution happening in these communities, maybe driven by circumstances, as they usually are, which is a community and a type of business that historically was just basically all cash and almost no technology and sort of seat of your pants with the inventory you're talking about and staffing and everything. That may have flipped. And now, in fact, those communities may want to actually like use their phone to pay, may want to use their phone to order up a delivery for whatever reason. And also the technologies inside the store to control inventory, staffing, so on. There may be a quiet revolution happening here that the little family bodega really actually needs to use those technologies to take advantage of the opportunity that's right in front of them right now.
True, absolutely. And it's hard. It's not. Listen, it's easy to say, but it's not as easy to do because you're dealing with multi-generational people that are running stores and multi-backgrounds, right? So, my grandfather was actually a practicing doctor till he was in his late 70s. And till he was in his late 70s, he always took that $25 copay, like as you can imagine one of these old school grandfathers would do. And he was very content. And if you tried to convince him to get with the current times, he wouldn't do it. It worked for him. So that's what happens. So you have a lot of these older generation, older individuals, different generation. And you know what? This Casio register has worked for me for the last 30 years. What is DoorDash? Why do I need DoorDash? But the reality is that their customers, and I see it with my restaurants. I think I told you that I had a fight with one of my partners at one of my restaurants because he refuses to embrace this technology. And he doesn't, he said to me, he used that exact line. For the last 30 years, we've had drivers, we've had our own website, things have been going well. Why do I need to take on DoorDash and why do I need to take on Grubhub? And that is because my kids are not ordering online the way I used to order online. And so if you don't want to embrace the technology and you want to stay stubborn and stay heels in the ground on this is the way it was, you're going to wake up like Blockbuster, Kodak, Yahoo, and all those others that got surprised with the changing because you didn't know how to pivot.
Well, and you brought up something that I think it's very important, especially in I don't know how to describe it, like a day-to-day business, like a restaurant, right? It survives. There's no momentum in a restaurant, right? I mean, one day people can just say, I don't want to eat. Let's eat at that other place that just opened up.
Right.
The other thing is, and I hate to mention it, as time progresses, you just simply lose customers. They go away. They move. Sometimes people do die at a certain age.
It happens.
You literally start to lose customers. In other words, if you're not especially as when you're talking, you and I, at least I'll speak for myself. I live in a B2B world, which is a little bit of a different creature. You're talking about front-facing consumer businesses that are literally in a neighborhood, and they need to be continuously cultivating a certain number of brand new 18-year-old. Your son needs to become a new customer of a restaurant, of a business. Those 16 and 17-year-olds are consumers.
Yeah.
Right.
Because those 18-year-olds are going to be 22-year-olds.
Right.
They're going to get married, and they're going to move next to their restaurant, and they'll either pick my restaurant or they'll pick my competitor.
Right. And I have a feeling. Let's stick with that for a second. Whether it's the kid in your house or a kid in someone else's house 6 miles away in some other neighborhood, same thing.
Yep.
The newest generation is going to want to buy their stuff on their phone, whether in person or by remote. They're going to basically just, flash the phone over a device. It'll go beep, and that's how they're going to pay. we have a huge shift abroad. In country, it's interesting. We have a weird moment in some of the least developed countries in the world. They are using the most advanced electronic technology to do payment systems. Right, cash has actually been replaced in some of the least developed countries.
Yeah, it's true.
It's revolutionizing the way you buy. You used to travel abroad, to go to Europe, for example, and so on. And one of the first things you would do is get some cash. If you've been abroad recently, you realize, hey, I never even touched the cash in my wallet.
I was just in Guatemala last week. I
Right.
said that exact same line when I landed in Newark Airport. I was like, wait a second. I got the same amount of cash in my pocket that I came into when I'm leaving, Yeah,
Right.
I stayed in a hotel. I went and shopped at a supermarket.
Right.
That's so funny that you say
And
that.
and look at and check it out, Ellie. Let's go back to the businesses you serve. If I'm a corner store, it's so much safer and better for me not to have a bunch of cash on hand, right? There's less temptation for the employee that's on the overnight shift. There's less temptation for someone to try to rip me off. It's just cleaner and better in so many different ways.
I'll tell you that we have, and this is unique to National Retail Solutions, we have a patented alarm system embedded in our point of sale register that if God forbid somebody walks in and says, open up your drawer, with a weapon of some sort, they push the button on the register a certain way. It's proprietary to us only. We have it patented. The drawer opens up and a silent alarm goes to the police department. We have that feature. It's called the panic alarm. And we've invested a lot of money because if people Google crime in bodegas or crime in these independent convenience stores, you will see that it is checkered, and not just 6 months ago, 6 hours ago, and these are the ones that are reported. And we are there to we give them that technology to try to help save those stores as well and keep them safe. So it's interesting that you mentioned that.
So, Ellie, as we wrap up our podcast, I know this we were talking a little bit before we started. It wasn't actually a topic you want to talk about, but I want to talk about it.
Okay, you're the boss. You tell me sing, I gotta sing. You tell me dance, I gotta dance. And I'll figure out how to do it. So,
well, you guys are blogging about some changes with the SNAP program,
yes,
and specifically the federal government and I guess the states are rolling out a kind of state by state, and then eventually, I guess it'll be national, certain types of food. For example, sweet sugar pop, candy, this kind of thing. You're not going to be able to use certain federal money or even state money and so on to use it to buy. And it would be, of course, that your customers, the small family business, is going to they're not in the know necessarily about what's good and not good to pay and different payment systems. Apparently, your company is basically leading the way in trying to help people figure out how to basically stay in compliance.
So we set up, and this is not just for, EBT or EWIC or SNAP. We set up for every single feature that we offer, white glove, back of the house assistance. Right? We've already established that our community are the independents. The person behind the counter, chances are that person is the employee of the month, the pot washer, the HR person, head of legal, head of purchasing, and we know he or she's probably the owner. There's not enough time in the day or bandwidth for these employees or for these owners to be able to research and see what's the best of class for any item. So we'd find the best of class, and because we're in so many of these independent stores, a lot of companies have reached out to us, right? So I will give you an example. There is something called the tobacco rebate program that's out there. And it's not just for the merchants, it's also for the consumers. The consumers can pay and get discounts on tobacco products as if they were going into a national chain in an independent convenience store, because this store participates, right? So Altria, who is the Philip Morris Altria, those two, those two names, have partnered with us, or we partnered with them, and we provide the service. And then in the back end, we have an entire division of people that help these merchants get on these programs. So when we talk about EBT and SNAP and EWIC, and they're all, some are federal or some are federal managed by the local, and it gets trickled down to it. As laws change, how do we expect these merchants to keep up with all of the different rules? So we have our team that helps them get licensed, right? That's the big thing, right? So that we don't sign the paperwork, but we've filled out the paperwork many times before. We tell you how to do it. We show you how to do it. We don't take on liability. We're just basically giving them guidance. And then also what's integrated into our register based on the locale that they're in, a lot of times are what those states have as far as allowed. Maybe in one state they allow you to buy a sugar cereal, but in another state they say no, you must keep it to a healthy cereal. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the rules, right? We got a big country, lots of states, lots of rules, and while the federal government has their overarching rules as it gets trickled down. So yes, I didn't want to talk about it, not because I didn't want to talk about it, but only because, I don't know enough about it to tell you the specifics. But I do know one thing, and that is when you deal with National Retail Solutions, it's as if you just inherited an entire back of the house organization, one of those big giant buildings with all those people that are helping out with your marketing, with your online presence, with your compliance as far as working with the different government agencies and licensing and the loyalty and the rewards. And that's why people love us. People love us because we understand the needs of these store owners. We understand that they don't have the time or energy or bandwidth, and in some cases, or interest, right? They're, like you and I spoke about, they're a different generation, have not interested in going into this type of extra item. So that's why National Retail Solutions is there to help them, and that's why we're always looking for resellers that could help us push our products to these stores. You have lots of resellers that listen to your podcast, lots of people that want to make more money, and every one of them's got a main street wherever they're located. In every main street, they need point of sale, they need credit card, they need cash advance, and they need payroll, and some of our other products that we're offering now.
Well, you know what the barcode means. It's time to wrap it up for this edition. But this is always interesting. So I think that's our takeaway message today. Technology is really needed. There's a revolution going on literally right down the street from you. It's an opportunity, and take advantage of it, maybe directly or indirectly. There's some really interesting things happening, and you'll be helping a lot of family-run businesses. Ellie, where can we learn more about National Retail Solutions?
NRSplus.com. National Retail Solutions is NRSplus.com. And by the way, if you go all the way to the bottom of the website, there's a contact the CEO, and you can send me a private message, and I will get it. Tell us what topics they want me to talk about next time I'm on your podcast.
You're a family-run business, right? That needs to be said.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So you will actually talk to the boss.
I will talk to the boss.
All right.
Thank you.
I am looking forward to our next podcast.
Me too. I love it.
All right, Ellie. Thank you very much indeed for joining me today.
Take care. Have a successful day.